In this video, we're going to be using substitution with order of operations. So we are going to be using substitution, and we're going to be applying the rules for order of operations to simplify numerical expressions. And so when we do substitute in our numbers, we are going to be using parentheses around each of the numbers for each variable. So for example, we're going to do this question in two parts. So the first part says do not evaluate. All we're going to do is substitute the numbers for each variable. So we have the expression x plus y. We want to use x equal to 1 and y equal to 10. So if we are only substituting, remember we're using parentheses when we substitute the numbers in for the variables, we are going to be putting parentheses around the 1 in place for the x, and then parentheses around the 10 in place for the y. So our answer is seen below. And so now we have a numerical expression with 1 plus 10. So in example 1 continued, we are going to evaluate the expression now using the order of operations. So here it's pretty simple. There's only one operation, and that's addition. And so we're just going to do 1 plus 10, which is, we get our answer to be 11. So kind of similar in example 2, we're still not evaluating our first step. We're just going to substitute the numbers for each variable. And remember that we are going to be putting parentheses around those numbers when we do the substitution. So we have x minus y in parentheses, and that's raised to the power of 2. And so we're going to use 10 for x again and y equal to 1. And so when we substitute in, that's going to look like this. And so notice that we put 10 in place of the x and put parentheses around it, and then we put 1 in place for y and put parentheses around it. We are not solving at this point. We're not evaluating. So this would be just a substitution step using the parentheses. So continuing example 2, now we're going to evaluate. And so this is where we're going to apply the order of operations to evaluate. And remember, order of operation is, a common phrase is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we have parentheses going on, we have exponents going on, and we have subtraction going on. And so to follow order of operations, we're going to be doing what's inside of the parentheses first, which is 10 minus 1. So 10 minus 1 is 9. And so now we have 9 raised to the power of 2, which is 9 squared. 9 squared is the same as 9 times 9. So our answer is going to be 81 once we evaluate this expression. All right, example 3. Once again, we're not evaluating. We're using parentheses when we substitute in our numbers for each of the variables. And so we have x plus y in parentheses, that's raised to the power of 2. All of that is being divided by y. So our first step is just substitution. So x is equal to 10, so anywhere you see x, which we see at one time, 10 goes in for x, we substitute that in, and I am putting parentheses around the 10 to show substitution. And then anywhere you see a y, you're going to put in a 1 and then put parentheses around it. And we're not solving yet. That's going to be in the next step. So continuing, example 3 continued, now we're going to evaluate. So this is where we're going to kind of follow the order of operations. But I actually like to, you do see that there's division here, and I always like to separate when you have a fraction kind of going on like this. I like to simplify the top. I like to simplify the bottom. There's really nothing to do here on the bottom. We just have 1. So here we're going to just simplify the top first, and then we'll take care of that 1 after we get done. And so order of operations says that we're going to do what's in parentheses first. And so we have that 10 plus 1 in parentheses first. So 10 plus 1 gives us 11. So then now we have 11 squared. All of that's being divided by 1. So then my next thing that I would do would take care of the 11 squared. That's the same as 11 times 11, which is 121. Now I just have one operation left, which is division. That fraction bar represents division. So I'm going to do 121 divided by 1, and I get my answer to be 121. All right, in our last example, example 4, we're still not evaluating our first step, we're just substituting in. This time we have 3 different variables that we're substituting in. The concept is going to be the exact same. And I really didn't explain in the beginning why I like to use parentheses when I'm substituting in. A lot of times it's because of negative numbers. When you're substituting in negative numbers, that's where things get kind of tricky, and you have, especially if you have subtraction in the expression. And so I know in this video there really wasn't any of that, but I can guarantee if you do utilize the parentheses when you're substituting in, it definitely helps eliminating any sort of mathematical error when it comes to actually solving it. And so to do the substitution, anywhere we see the x, we're going to put the 10 with parentheses around it. Anywhere we see a y, we're going to put a 1 with parentheses around it. And then last, anywhere we see a z, we are going to be putting a 3 with parentheses around it. So this is what that would look like. That would be that step's answer. Notice that I have parentheses around each of the numbers that I substituted in, and I'm not evaluating yet. That will be our next step. So now we're ready to evaluate, and we're going to follow the order of operations. We do have parentheses here. We have that 10 minus 3 divided by 1. That's all in the parentheses. So then we're going to follow order of operations here, and we're going to do the division first, because that goes before the subtraction. So then we're going to do negative 3 divided by 1, which will be negative 3, or minus 3 is the same thing as negative 3. And so then now we have 10 minus 3 in parentheses, and that would be our next step here. And so 10 minus 3 is 7. So last we have one operation left, and that's 3 times 7, which gives us an answer of 21.